This is a big development in a case that we covered over a year ago in the Sushant Singh Rajput case. We're learning that the NCB is going to be looking to charge Rhea Chakraborty. She's going to be charged for drug supply. Rhea Chakraborty is, remember, the actor. Rhea has been charged after claims that she was in touch with drug peddlers and thereby committed an offence. The Narcotics Control Bureau, in its draft charge against 35 accused people, so it's charged 35 people. It's booked it in the alleged drugs case filed following the death of actor Sushant Singh Rajput in 2020. It said the accused had entered a criminal conspiracy with each other for distribution of drugs in high society and Bollywood. We'll go over to my colleague Siddhant right now for more details. Siddhant, for our audiences, two questions. Could you lay out exactly what the charges are in the NCB's draft? A, and B, could you tell us, because there are 35 people who are accused, who some of the other people on that list might be?
Well, look, most importantly, this time around, Sameer Wankhede is not heading the Mumbai unit of Narcotics Control Bureau. And the time he's not heading the unit, this draft charges have been filed in the court. And in fact, 35 accused, those who were arrested 2 years back, by the Narcotics Control Bureau, Mumbai, have been charge sheeted by the Narcotics Control Bureau. And in fact, what is interesting here is that the Rhea and Chauvik both have not been only charged with consumption of the narcotic substance, but the prosecution has proposed the court to charge Rhea and Chauvik for consumption of narcotics and also for procuring and paying for such substances for deceased actor Sushant Singh Rajput. So now in the two paragraphs that have been mentioned in the draft charges, it has been very clearly mentioned that how, and this is what prosecution's case is, that how Rhea Chakraborty used to pay for Sushant Singh Rajput's drugs. Ganja, hashish, various other drugs have been mentioned in the paragraph, and also through Chauvik, they used to procure these narcotic substances. So this is what the NCB prosecution case has to say. Now, one other FIR in the Sushant Singh Rajput death case is already pending with the Central Bureau of Investigation. There have been a long pending investigation which is going on, and in fact, no closure report has been filed in that matter. Despite the report from the AIIMS laboratory and the other scientific experts, the closure report hasn't been filed in that matter. But this is sensational. This wasn't expected because in fact, at the time of granting bail to Rhea Chakraborty from the Bombay High Court, there were some very key and important observations which were made by the Bombay High Court. Now, this time around, Rhea and Chauvik both have not only been charged with the consumption of narcotic substance, but also for procuring and paying for Sushant Singh Rajput, which makes case more difficult for them. If you could
tell us, if you could walk us through what the observations of the Bombay High Court had been when they granted bail to Rhea Chakraborty that makes this so surprising, if you could give our audiences that context.
Well, yes. So they were since the agency came into a lot of controversy, especially the Bombay unit, which was being headed by Sameer Wankhede, and in fact, there was a group of people there, those who have been opposing the way cases were built by the Mumbai unit, and since then there have been several observations. Several occasions where NCB unit, Mumbai unit, have been heavily criticized for doing witch hunt, for going after the Bollywood celebrities, for making false cases against the Bollywood celebrities. So those were the charges against Sameer Wankhede and his team. Now Sameer is not the boss of the Mumbai unit. Despite that, the draft charges have been filed in the court, where prosecution case is that the Chauvik and Rhea both should face the trial, not just for the consumption, but for the procurement of the drugs. And in fact, one more thing I would like to highlight here: this particular finding by NCB, this particular draft charges by NCB, can in fact make case difficult for Shavik and Rhea as far as the case which is going on with CBI is concerned, because this is what in fact the activists, those who have come out, the people close to Sushant Singh Rajput, those who have come out, have been making these allegations that Rhea and Shavik used to supply drugs to Sushant Singh Rajput, and even we had many testimonies on cameras also at that point in time, where a lot of their friends and relatives confirmed this, that these two people used to supply drugs to Sushant. They used to pay for his drugs. So it's a very long story, cannot be explained in one bulletin. But the fact here is that both Rhea and Shavik have been charged with the sections of procurement for Sushant Singh Rajput, and this can possibly make their case difficult, in fact, before the CBI also.
Okay, Siddhant, just stay with us. Stay with us. I just want to tell our audiences they've charged the accused. The NCB has charged the accused. I'm going to tell you what sections they're charged on, what the sections pertain to: production, manufacture, sale, purchase, transport, consumption of any narcotic drug, use and possession of cannabis and psychotropic substances, financing illicit traffic and harboring offenders, as well as abetment and criminal conspiracy, attempt and preparation of committing an offence. 35 people the NCB is going to be taking a look at. Siddhant, I want to come back to you with a question over here. Our audiences may already know this. We'd also received news that one of the people who'd been charged in this case, who was a former employee of the production house of Karan Johar, had actually sought discharge and reinvestigation in this case, drawing parallels with the probe against Aryan Khan, who was dropped as an accused by the NCB. Is it possible that more of this 35, more people might come forward and seek similar?
Well, look, that's what I'm saying. In last 2 years, I have covered this agency very closely. And in fact, there were several loopholes which came in public domain from the agency's part. And in fact, there were several allegations, many allegations in the form of petitions, complaints to Union Home Ministry, in the form of media interviews. These celebrities, and especially, those who have already been booked, have made this allegation that they have been booked in the false cases by Sameer Wankhede. So, this entire agency was going through a credibility crisis. And in fact, relying on my sources, the top bosses of the agency were unhappy with the way Sameer Wankhede have been functioning in Mumbai, and this is perhaps the reason, in fact, they got him transferred out of NCB. Now, and in fact, we were told that was a cleanup drive which was done by the top bosses of Narcotics Control Bureau here in Delhi. But the question here goes out for them that this is the same very case which was opened by Sameer Wankhede. It's the same very case which was investigated by him and his team, and now the same findings which came in public domain then, the same investigation details have been mentioned in the draft charges. So it means that the NCB, the new bosses of NCB Mumbai, in fact the new team of NCB Mumbai, is quite convinced that the Shavik and Rhea Chakraborty were behind giving drugs to Sushant Singh Rajput. They used to not just consume drugs along with him, but used to pay for the drugs which were procured for Sushant Singh Rajput. In fact, they have many testimonies also with them, and I still remember the Bombay police's case. In fact, they were also under scrutiny at that point in time. Even in many of these statements which were present with them, the statements of friends and relatives, in that also these details had come up. That there used to be a consumption of drugs in the house.
Okay, Siddhant, thank you so much for bringing us these developments. For our audiences, the Narcotics Control Bureau, in its draft charge against 35 different people in the Sushant Singh Rajput case. We'll bring you more developments on the story. Right now, we're heading in for a short break. We'll see you on the other side on the morning news.